It's so close to 2020, it's not even funny, honey. When I think about the year 2020, I just love it. I just think it's the coolest year. Perfect vision. Man. All I'm saying is that I want to have things figured out by then. I want to be in a really good spot going into 2020. And when the reality is that that's only a year away. So that means 2019 needs to be a year of progress. This is sort of a cliche topic. It's something that I've avoided really talking about much, but I continue to get asked all the time, like, how did you make the shift to becoming freelance? So this is this is the first video of 4 that I'm gonna do this month, talking about how to become freelance in 2019. So I'm gonna do a little mini series, 4 videos, talking about how to become freelance in 2019. In video number 1, AKA this video right here, I don't know if it'll be interesting, but I'll tell you my story about how I became freelance. And then video number 2, I want to tell you the realities of freelance, the good and the bad. I want to be really honest. I want to wipe away the fluff that the world tends to put around freelance. And I just want to tell you what it's actually like. Video number 3, if you're still interested in being freelance after I told you the realities, video 3 will be about the things that will help your transition be successful, the things that I could not have made it without. I'll tell you all those things that really helped me. And then video number 4 will be me answering questions that you may have. I'm making these videos out of thin air about things that I think you would like to know, but I don't really know. So please, over the next 3 weeks, just fire away. The more questions I get, the better that final video will be. All right, part 1. Let's talk about my story of becoming a freelancer. In 2015, my wife and I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. We knew a couple of people there. I got an immediate job working for a cybersecurity company. It was a tech startup called Fish Labs. I went on as an intern and then became a marketing coordinator. I stayed there for a year. They offered me a job, a really cool job where I could have traveled a lot, but I didn't want it. I didn't like working there. So I left that job with no intentions of going freelance. That was absurd because all my skills were so amateur. I left that job hoping that I would find another job, like just start the application process again and find a really good job. Well, lo and behold, that same night that I left my Fish Labs job, I went to a meetup, met a guy there that was doing an arts festival. And he told me, I need somebody to do all this work for me. Would you be interested in doing some design work? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the freelance dream. It just fell into my lap. So of course I said yes. Who would say no to an opportunity like that, right? So I spent the next 6 months, I spent over 200 hours on the next 6 months preparing for this event at an agreed price of $30 an hour, which I thought was so cool, so high. And then on top of that, I'm going to meetings, I'm running my own show, calling shots. I felt so cool. I was on top of the world. Well, let me fast forward 6 months. The guy that is hosting the event and I are sitting in his living room and we get an alert saying that there's a massive hurricane headed towards Charleston. It turns out that this hurricane came through. There was a mandatory evacuation. The festival was ruined. You can't just up and reschedule a 3-day festival. There's too many moving pieces. Too many bands are scheduled for different things. It was a disaster. And on top of that, the person that was hosting the event didn't have any sort of festival insurance, which prevents these large festivals from losing thousands of dollars when things go wrong. So I thought that I had spent 6 months earning roughly $12,000, which was fine. Like, that's enough to live on for 6 months. But it turns out after this guy had to pay all of his renter's fees and refund all the customers and pay the deposits for the bands, he was losing thousands of dollars and I was lucky to walk away with $4,000. I went from thinking that I was killing it as a freelancer and that this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life, to realizing that I couldn't even pay our normal expenses. Like, it was the most earth-shattering month of my life, maybe. Like, it hurt so bad. And you're asking, like, why didn't you get money up front? I did get $2,000 up front, but little Cody didn't know that could ever possibly happen. It was like my first freelancer mistake, right? Like, to make sure that you're bound by contract to get your money. But just things you don't know when you're starting out. A month later, Anna Laura and I went to get our Christmas tree. We went to Lowe's, picked it out, got back in the car. I turned on the car and just sat there. And I turned to Anna Laura and I just apologized for failing so bad. Like, I was so ashamed at how bad that had turned out. That I wasn't able to provide what I needed to provide, and that she had given me so much grace and the ability to go for it, and I just messed it up. So I made an agreement with her right there that if I couldn't get things rolling by January 1, this is like the 10th of December, that I would just go full job search. And that's pretty much what I was thinking I would do. It's so funny how this works out, because this story is about to get better. The next day, I was meeting somebody at a coffee shop when I saw somebody that I recognized from Instagram, like he's sort of Instagram famous, sitting at a table like 3 tables away from me. And I just got up and I went over and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Hey, I'm Cody. It's nice to meet you." And we just started talking, and he was like, "What do you do?" And I told him, I was like, I'm a designer. And he said, "No way, I'm looking for a designer." I said, "Get out of here." And he said, "Let's meet next week." So the next week I sit down with him and he just fills my plate with fresh work and just is so excited about having me be a part of his team. And it was just a massive, massive shift and weight off my shoulders. Most unbelievable thing ever. Getting that client bought me enough time to get another client. And then that bought me enough time to get another client. And the next thing I knew, I had a little business. I had enough clients to really sustain making a living off this thing. And it's been a continual roller coaster, like huge ups and huge downs. The hills are getting a little bit smaller. Now let's fast forward to the present. I've officially been freelance for 2 years and 6 months. I can honestly say that I got a 4-year college education in 2 years. Like, I learned so much more than I could have imagined just by throwing myself into the wild and learning how to fight for myself and figure out how to survive and when things aren't going well. Like, it has been the greatest decision of my life, and I owe everything to my wife, who's been so supportive. Seriously, even during those times where I wasn't providing enough, like, she still just believed in me. It's unbelievable. I just have so much to be thankful for. I hope my story helped you in some way. It's not a particularly special story. It's kind of a freelance horror story, though. I really hope it was helpful. I'm excited to talk to you next week about the realities of freelance. That'll be interesting. So stay tuned. And remember to send me questions starting now. Like, any questions you have about freelance that you want to ask me, I'll answer those in the final video. I hope you have a great week. Enjoy your Tuesday. I'll see you next Tuesday.